It's mise on Seanchaidh, and this is Thistle and Stone. The Bewley never forgives. It tears down from the high corries like a silver blade, and in the roar the old ones still hear the same cry that has haunted Strathglass for 700 years. Achlana nan Cuimhnich asos gev shiv fiol. There, where the pines lean over black water, where the mist never quite lifts from the hills, and the last wolf is said to drink at midnight, the Chisholms stood. Quiet men with long memories, claymores at their backs, last true guardians of the northern glen. This is their school. Is mise on Seanchaidh, and this is Thistle and Stone. Long ago, a blind seer woman stood alone on the slopes of Maelfurmoney and saw the river run red with the blood of wolves. She laid her cold hand on the brow of the first Chisholm and spoke these words into the wind. You will guard this glen, while the wolf still runs and the pine still drinks the mist. When the last wolf falls, the last Chisholm will fall with him. The glen itself took the oath that night. The pines bowed, the river turned in its bed. Every Chisholm born since has carried that silence, watchful as the deer, patient as the river, lethal when the time comes. Listen, the glen is still listening. Cuimhnich. From that seer-blessed vow came Clan Cuimhnich, children of the narrow glen, sons and daughters of the wolf's road. Erchless rose among the pines like a grey heron keeping watch, not to keep enemies out, but to keep the old tongue in. Every chief who took the name carried the seer's promise in his blood. No crown would ever own this glen, while a Chisholm heart still beat. The bun ran red when the heather bloomed. The pipes answered every sunset, and the wolf banner flew above corries no redcoat ever found. For centuries they ruled by the old laws. Gaelic judges sat beneath rowan trees in Cuimhnich, weighing honour against honour. Seanchaidh sang the night full of heroes, until the wolves themselves fell silent to listen. Women stood taller than any man, their second sight colder than the January Bewley, their counsel sharper than any claymore. They rode with Lovett's Frasers when it suited them, but they answered only to the glen and the mist. Yet blood calls to blood, and pride answers pride. Chisholms and MacDonalds tore each other across the braes of Glenmoriston. In the 1660s, Alexander the Red Chisholm led them against the raiders from the west, and the river drank deep. And while the claymores rang, the crown in Edinburgh smiled quietly and waited for the north to bleed itself weak. When the Jacobite star rose, Strathglass answered. Young Roderick Og Chisholm led his men to Culloden for his father. The glen emptied of its best, the pipes keening all the way to the moor. They charged when the order came, and they never came home. Roderick the 21st, the Cuimhnich Moor, lived on, deaf in one ear and heartbroken. He lived on while the estate was forfeited, and the glen bled white. In that same generation, the last Seaforth sat deaf and mute across the hills, and the Brahmin seer's words came true. The 4 great lairds, Gairloch, Grant, Rassay and Chisholm, all marked, all witnesses to the end. The seer woman's wolf howled that night, and the prophecy bit deep. The moor drank deeper than it ever had before. The mist ran black with grief. Then came the sheep and the silence. The same factors who had counted the dead at Culloden now counted the living for eviction. Glens that had roared with pipes and children fell quiet. The coffin ships left from Inverness, heavy with Chisholms, bound for the forests of Ontario and the long cold of Glengarry County. They stood on the decks, with the Bewley at their backs and the tears on their faces. And the fire did not sail with them. It stayed behind, watching over a glen growing emptier by the year. And the silence never truly lifted. Today, Erchless opens its doors for whisky tastings and corporate retreats, while the shillings above Cuimhnich that once rang with 300 years of Chisholm cradle songs are now silent, except for the click of a photographer's shutter. The last working croft in Glencanich is leased to a London-based wilderness experience company that teaches city children how to survive in a glen whose native tongue it more bothered to learn. The victory still tastes of ash, only quieter now and colder. Yet the wolf still runs in the high corries. The Bewley still carves its ancient path. The Chisholms are scattered from Strathglass to Ontario, from Glasgow to Cape Breton. But every one of them knows the road home ends where the seer woman first spoke. You will still hear their pipes on a winter's night above Cuimhnich. You will still meet a Chisholm in Glengarry County who can recite 20 generations without a stumble. You will still find a child on the banks of the glass who dreams of the wolf banner and wakes with the taste of pine smoke on his tongue, though the last shot was fired 300 years ago. Because the oath is not broken. Because the seer woman is still watching. Because the glen is still listening. Erchless stones remember the burning. The Bewley keeps its secrets. The wolf is still running somewhere above the snow line. The promise the seer woman made to the first guardian is calling again. Not for kings, not for charters, but for the glen itself, for the language, for the children who should be born to the sound of pine wind speaking the old tongue. Chisholms of Strathglass, of Glengarry, of Antigonish, wherever the redcoats and the factors scattered you, the peat fire is down to embers. The mist is rising. Will you answer? Achlana nan con higiv, asosgeshiv fiol. Cuimhnichiv ruri boer is a madach ali a ha ahast a ruach. Remember Roderick the Deaf and the wolf that is still running, and come home. It's Seanchaidh, and this is Thistle and Stone. Cuimhnich. 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 Fáilte, Gu, Cuimhnich. the memory lives. Until next time. Cuimhnich!